We took a
I will
vote.
ask if you don't mind, just when you see that red light, turn, or when you see the,
Oh,
There it is.
there it is.
okay, there you go. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pittsburgh Law Enforcement Center for a candidate forum tonight focusing on the race for Pittsburgh City Commission. My name is Blake Benson. I'm with the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, joined tonight by Ron Womble, representing the Morning Sun, who will serve as our proctor this evening. First of all, a big thank you to our candidates for your time here tonight and for your willingness to serve the citizens of Pittsburgh. It is greatly appreciated. So a little bit of information about our format tonight. First of all, the candidates have been made aware of the rules in advance. The way we will go tonight is that each candidate will be offered a 2-minute opening statement. And then they have 2 minutes with their opening statements. You don't have to use the entire 2 minutes, but you have up to 2 minutes. We'll then go into a series of questions that the candidates received in advance. And then while we are asking those advanced questions, would encourage those that are joining us in person tonight to submit written questions. We have index cards at the back of the room with a couple of pens. You're free to fill those out, submit those in writing to Ron, who again will serve as our proctor. The two criteria, and we're very strict about this, is any question that is submitted has to be a fair question, and it has to be applicable to all the candidates. There are no questions that are directed at one, two, or any less than all of the candidates. So those are our two criteria. Ron will be the one screening those tonight, and again, appreciate a good crowd here tonight, not only for the City Commission candidate forum, but a USD 250 school board candidate forum that will follow at 7 o'clock tonight. So, before we begin tonight, any questions from any of the candidates regarding the format or ground rules? All right. Well, with that, we drew numbers before the beginning of the evening, and Mr. O'Malley, you will give your opening statement first. If you'll give me just a second, I should have had my timer pulled up. All right, 2 minutes. Mr. O'Malley.
Hello, Pittsburgh. My name is Matt O'Malley. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. Some of you may know my parents, David or Beverly, or my grandparents, Lois and Phil O'Malley. I went to St. Mary's Colgan Schools, K through 12. I graduated with a business degree from Pitt State 15 years ago. My wife, Lacey, and I have been married for 8 years. We've got 2 boys, ages 3 and 6. And a German Shepherd rescue, so I'm like 5th in charge at my house. My oldest wants to be a zookeeper, and my youngest refused to answer that question this morning. I work as the executive director for Community Green Farms. We're a nonprofit that places innovative farm classrooms at high schools across Kansas, teach kids how to grow their own food, ag skills, while eliminating the school's need to purchase subpar lettuce. It's really interesting work. Keep active in our community through volunteering. I'm on the board of directors at Pittsburgh Noon Rotary Club, Pittsburgh Beautiful, and ending a 5-year stint on the board of Young Professionals. I also serve as an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce, completed their Leadership Crawford County program, and teach youth leadership. Pittsburgh is my hometown. I love Pittsburgh. I hope that voters can see that I've got unique experiences, successes, styles, and approaches that will be good for our community and for our commission. And I hope to have your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. I did forget to mention also, just to help the candidates know where they are time-wise, when you have 30 seconds left, I'll show you a yellow card. Could not find a red card anywhere in our office today, so unfortunately, orange will have to be the card that means you're out of time, and we'll ask you to stop your answer. But again, this is 30 seconds. Okay, second up tonight, Mr. Munsell.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Blake, the Chamber, and you, Ron, with the Morning Sun, for hosting this. And I'd like to thank everybody that came. I think this is very important that you come listen to whoever you might vote for. I see some familiar faces in the crowd and some that's not familiar. But I'm going to start off with, when I knock on your door, the same thing I've said over and over again. Have you seen any of my signs around town? have. What does that tell you about me? Nothing. What does that tell you when you see a name on the ballot about me or any of us? Nothing. That's how I break the ice. And then I go into, I'm a lifelong resident of Pittsburg, Kansas. I grew up the grandson of a trash hauler named Lefty Pryor. He supported a large family in the trash business. We all helped when we was younger. It was a good job that sometimes it's looked down on, but you know, I'm glad I had that experience. From there, I graduated from Pittsburg High School and went to Pitt State. They had a vocational program there. I took drafting. Well, when I was going to drafting, I worked in McNally Foundry at nights. And when I graduated from drafting, McNally paid me more money to stay in the foundry. And I stayed in the foundry. It closed in 10 years' time. I was one of the fortunate employees. Boy, that went quick. So I was beat up. Anyway, worked in the foundry, worked in every McNally's in Pittsburgh. And I also got on the Pittsburgh Fire Department, worked there 25 years, retired. I started driving school bus for USD 250. I have been married to my wife Karen for 45 years. I have two sons, Eric and his wife Teresa. I have two grandsons, Aiden and Cohen. I have my son Mike. Well, my son Mike lives in Kansas City, Missouri. He works for Burns McDonnell, and my son Eric lives in Juneau Beach, Florida. He works for NextEra Energy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Munsell. Dr. Sigley.
Good evening. My name is Ron Sigley. I was born and reared in southeast Kansas, in Franklin to be exact. Went to Arma High School and then to Pittsburg State University, where I graduated with a degree in chemistry after 4 years. And then I went on to medical school at the University of Kansas Medical Center, graduated from there, and then went to the Army. I had already been in the Army. I had been commissioned as an air defense artillery officer, but I transitioned over to a medical officer. Did an internship at Letterman Army Medical Center in San Francisco. Did my residency at Silas B. Hayes Army Hospital at Fort Ord, but that was after a 3.5-year tour in Germany. And then became chief of clinics at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, and then a clinical instructor at Stanford University in family and community medicine. My philosophy on local government has been to work with the people in local government, all the folks, the city manager, and all the other personnel who work in government, and on all the affairs of the city, point out the needs, address concerns of the citizens, act as a voice of citizens, point out problem areas, and act to ensure that we have solutions and that are for the benefit of the citizens. Pittsburgh has many amenities for comfortable living, good schools, a top-notch university with which we have a collaborative agreement and relationship. We provide a caring environment that reaches out to those in need and those who have the ability. Did you put up that thing?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay. As most of you know, my big thing this last year as mayor has been to spruce up the Pittsburgh let's get Pittsburgh cleaned up. We've got a lot of things that we need to fix, and we've done a great deal, and the citizens have been a wonderful part of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sigley. Ms. Brooks.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Cheryl Brooks. I'm running for a second term as Pittsburgh City Commissioner. And my first and foremost thing is I feel it's my duty as a commissioner to be fair and impartial and to make decisions based on common sense and research. When it comes to problem solving, I'm not and never will be an armchair critic. I don't believe in it. I would be out there in the trenches, so to speak. I'm not one to point fingers. I do what I say what I mean, I ask questions, and questions are what most of the time I feel like gets me in trouble, but it's me, and I do that. I don't have all the answers, but I'm not one to shy away from a challenge ever. Just know that I'm always all in when I'm your Pittsburgh City Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Okay, our first advance question, again, that the candidates received in advance, of course. The first question will be answered by you, Mr. Munsell, and the question is this. In your opinion, what should be the city's top 3 priorities for the next 3 years?
Well, thank you. My first top priority would be a new wastewater treatment plant. That's going to replace a 50-year-old plant that's probably falling apart, but that's how you grow the city. We're going to replace that plant for the future. The next thing, or my second goal, would be to improve the roads from Atkinson and Free Kings Highway to 160 that goes to our new industrial park. We have a railroad spur in there that Watco put in, and they unload and load rail cars there. I think if we had that road widened, that we could attract major manufacturing to come to that new industrial park. That's not going to be an easy thing we do, but it's going to have to be done together with the county and the city of Frontenac, because that road joins several other than us. My third thing would be to look at our ordinances. We need to update the ordinances that haven't been updated in a number of years. We recently updated one ordinance that had to do with camping, and that was something that we needed to do. I think we need to update the ordinance and have our police and codes enforcement give them something that they can have a little more teeth in, because it's kind of like chasing their tail when they go out on numerous calls. The police go out on every call. Codes enforcement's going out, like Doc said, about sprucing up Pittsburgh. There's a lot of issues that people don't understand that the codes enforcement have been dealing with for a year and a half, 2 years, trying to get people to clean stuff up. It goes to courts. Courts give them more time. So if we can help codes enforcement and police and do something as commission on the ordinances, of course, the next step would be, you know, prosecuting attorneys to file charges, if there is, and the judges. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mansell. Dr. Sigley.
Yes, sir. Number one would be, as Chuck said, to, over the next 3 years, get our wastewater treatment plant built and underway for the future of the city. Number two is the area between 4th Street and Quincy is a thoroughfare for the high school. It's a dangerous street. It has no things down the sides. It's just a drop into the ditch, and the kids come roaring out of the high school. There's been a number of accidents in there. So I would like to see that avenue widened and improved going up onto Quincy. Number three would be to improve our streets as much as possible over the next 3 years. We've got a lot of streets in town that need help, need repair, and it can be done. Little by little, we can organize it, and I hope that would help the city. It certainly would help the citizens. Driving around Pittsburgh sometimes is a bit on, if you want to ruin your shocks in some areas, you can do that. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brooks.
Okay, number one would be infrastructure upgrades, and I talk about sewer and water. We're spending all this money to pave roads, but then you go along and you'll see where a stretch has been jackhammered up. And I would like to see us do more sewer and water upgrades, because a lot of sewers and water lines are either lead or they're old. Number two would be the employee workforce. Employers are the greatest asset the city has. We need to be creative and actively recruit all positions across the board, because we need to get back to full staff. You can't accomplish anything that is needed when you have a workforce that is at a disadvantage, because, you know, a lot of times if you're working on a skeleton crew, they get job burnout very easily. And then number three would be, of course, street and roads. That's one of the main things I hear from a lot of people. And that, you know, I'm not opposed to, you know, our street crews are working and paving constantly, but I'm not opposed to maybe hiring an outside firm to come in and help pave some more, because it's kind of like washing dishes at a restaurant. If you're the only one back there washing the dishes, it's never ending. So, you know, the main thing is that people talk about the roads and the potholes and, you know, are you going to come down my street and put some asphalt in that hole or whatever? But I would like to see that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Malley?
Infrastructure is going to be crucial, but I want to talk about people. The city's top priorities should be proactive solutions to how people are affected by the continued growth that we're going to see and all the changes that will come with it. We're seeing right now with the increased spotlight on homelessness that reactive work is very messy and often unproductive. Anticipating changes with investments in people and places is a far better use of our city's resources. We need better connectivity. I don't know about you, but if I go anywhere in Pittsburgh, walking or biking, I gotta say a little prayer before I leave. Just hope I make it. Have you ever seen a mom pushing a stroller down a road or down like a ditch because that's their only way to get somewhere? We've got to have more sidewalks. We have to be better connected as we grow. Another top priority could be community building. As we grow, we risk becoming even more disconnected and divided from our neighbors, our neighborhoods, and our whole community. I would like to see the city focus more on creating and expanding places that bring people together. What we need that these days. And as we grow, we're going to need it even more if we're going to maintain our community culture and our pride. Affordable housing and childcare should always be a priority. I would be in favor of economically sensible incentives for moderately priced housing development, and even encouraging large companies to have their own childcare facilities. We're seeing that with Sugar Creek and Conversations at Ascension and others. We are losing talented young people to communities because they can't find a safe, affordable home. There's nowhere for their kids to go while they work. We've got to focus on that, and that'll always be an issue. There's very impressive local people working on these, and I would love to be a greater part of those conversations.
Okay, thank you. Our second advanced question will be answered first by Dr. Sigley, and the question is this. Hypothetical question. If each of you were to receive a $1 million grant to use for the city, and you could use it any way you wanted with no restrictions, what would you do with that $1 million and why? Dr. Sigley.
Well, $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to. That I can tell you. Having worked with the city on multi-million-dollar projects, it doesn't buy what it did 15 or 20 years ago, for sure. I think the first priority on my part would be we have a lot of empty stores downtown, and there are a lot of people who would like to develop those stores. But the biggest problem they have is in the sprinkler systems, the fire sprinkler systems. It's very expensive, so I would set up a program to help them go with that, not pay for all of it, but be a partner with them on it. Number two is I would probably put the money, at least some of the money or some of the money towards the child care that we're in the process of developing. The building structure, they're going to get money for, but the operating structure is not as solid as it should be. And I would put money towards that, towards salaries, to help move that along. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Brooks.
This was a very hard question, but I thought about it, and I was thinking, man, if I had $1 million, I could take and divide that million by, say, 10,000 into $1 million, that'd give you 100. 100 businesses, small businesses, not big ones, because they get 10% of economic development money. But he had small businesses who might need a new roof, new air conditioner, new heater. They want to maybe put a new sign out front. You get the picture. So if we did that, this would be available to any business as long as they had a city license, because there's more than 100 small businesses in Pittsburgh. And then they'd have to fill out an application just like anything else. And then as long as they would show where the money went, they could be reimbursed up to $10,000 per business, because I have heard from several small business owners that there's nothing for small guys, small businesses. So that would be my reason for the
Okay.
$1 million.
Thank you. Mr. O'Malley.
That's a great answer. That's a really good idea. I love this question. I've been in the grant world. I know it very well. Grants are full of restrictions. This question, it's free, and so we can just dream up all these things to do with $1 million. So, $1 million could hire 2 people to fix 2,000 potholes in Pittsburgh in 1 year. I know that I'm not the only one whose car and butt would appreciate that. $1 million could build 5 state-of-the-art outdoor exercise parks to keep our seniors and our aging population active and healthy. Big cities have these, why not us? $1 million could completely transform several city blocks in any of Pittsburgh's more outdated and neglected neighborhoods. Streetlights, sidewalks, accessible crosswalks, green spaces for play and relaxation, clearing overgrowth, dilapidated structures. This would create pride and give neighbors opportunities to interact with each other. We could just give $1 million to the Family Resource Center. They know what to do with it. $1 million could drastically strengthen our public safety divisions and increase their involvement in and their impact on our community. $1 million could build so many dang sidewalks. So I could go on and on. I've been getting paid to find and secure grants and improve communities for years. But since I get to decide what to do, here's what I would do. I figure there's about 275 teachers in Pittsburgh between USD 250 and St. Mary's. My math's probably off. They all get a $3,600 bonus. I can't think of anyone more deserving of an extra few $100s a month than those that are molding the next generation of Pittsburgh people. That's what I would do with $1 million.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Okay. Mr. Munsell.
If I had a $1 million grant, I would spend it on our wastewater treatment plant. As of today, the estimate for that plant is $40 million. We have $9 to $10 million set aside for that plant now. I think this $1 million would help pay for that plant a lot quicker because we're paying for that plant, the citizens and the businesses that will be using that wastewater treatment plant. And I think if you get that wastewater treatment plant built, we'll be able to attract manufacturing that's going to use a lot of water. We already have a water plant that is more than capable of our needs and the needs in the future. But we need a wastewater treatment plant that can treat that water also. And so it would attract businesses and people to come to Pittsburgh and move to Pittsburgh and all these things that everybody talked about. We sell water and we charge for wastewater. So the more people that help pay that and the more people we attract because of that can help us all out by getting all of this stuff maybe accomplished that we've been talking about. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first question from the crowd, and I will remind our audience members that you can submit questions in writing. We've got cards at the back of the room. Feel free to submit those up to Ron once you submit them. So the first audience question will be answered by Ms. Brooks here this evening. The issue of homelessness is one that is being discussed in communities across the country, including here in Pittsburgh. Knowing up front that the issue isn't necessarily the responsibility of any one entity, including the city of Pittsburgh, what are your thoughts on the local issue, and is there anything new that you would propose? Ms. Brooks.
I think there's been so much talk, and there's been so many solutions, and it's divided our city for one. And I think we need to be all on the same page, and I don't know that we ever can be. But I saw a sign, and I don't know what church it is, but there's a sign that out here in the community that says, "Be kind, be just, be humble." And I think we all need to work together to treat each other with respect. And I know there's a lot of issues in neighborhoods where the homeless are that are causing problems, and I understand that because where my business is, I'm also experiencing that. But we just have to take it one day at a time, but it needs to be taken care of now than later. And I don't know that there is a right answer because all the towns in America are experiencing this. So if somebody had the golden ticket and knew what to do to take care of this, I think everyone would follow suit. But we do need to treat each other with respect. Nobody wants to be homeless. I get that. But there is also a responsibility to get off the streets, too. I know there's a lot of resources in Pittsburgh, but maybe the resources need to go to the people instead of the people coming to them. And just get out there and talk and document them and find out what they need, and then you take care of them and you go on to the next person. But that's what I,
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Malley?
These are separate issues. Let's separate them. Crime, homelessness, housing. So crime. My first year in Kansas City, I lived in Armourdale. It was rough. And at night, just downright dangerous. I know what it's like to not feel safe in your neighborhood. Seeing new strangers on or near your property once is really uncomfortable. When it happens over and over again, it's exhausting, it's stressful. No one in Pittsburgh should have to creep one eye out of blind at all times. Businesses shouldn't get vandalized. Children should not get harassed walking to and from school. There are issues in some parts of town. It's crime. Criminals need dealt with. Homelessness. It is so hard for us to not make assumptions about the many based on the actions of the few. The real issue is what happens to people while they're in this gap in between crisis and finding home. Where do they get to exist? How do they stay alive? What happens in that gap? A gap that, by the way, with commitment from everybody, can take months and months and months of time. Housing. We know that the programs administered by the city, nonprofits, and churches rehouse people. They work. More resources to support these types of short-term transitional housing, permanent rehousing programs would immediately reduce the number of homeless individuals that we have in our community. I have worked with and for the organizations that serve the least of those among us. And by the way, they all want criminals dealt with too. The people that work at these places are remarkable human beings. The work of these agencies is constant and shifting and demands so much of them. They do the work of the Beatitudes, the Golden Rule, the Sermon on the Mount. They are love, the hands and the feet of God, and I support them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Munsell?
This past weekend, I attended a League of Municipalities conference in Wichita. It rotates, all the cities in Kansas get together and talk about similar issues. Rotates between Wichita, Topeka, and Overland Park. I was in Wichita this year, and they had a meeting on the homeless. It lasted an hour. It could have lasted much longer. We heard from cities that's experiencing the same issues that we're having. We heard from cities that says, cities like Wichita, and I say Pittsburgh, Kansas, that have services for the homeless. Other smaller towns that around our city and around Wichita bus people into Wichita and to Pittsburgh for the services we provide. You know, I don't have the answer, but I do know that they're, just like Matt says, to me it's a safety issue, not only for the neighborhoods that are being terrorized, vandalized by some of the elements in the homeless community. Not all of them are criminals, but there are some criminals in the homeless communities. The county has started a new drug court, and I'm not really understanding a lot about it, but I think if you are arrested for drugs, maybe offset any jail time with seeking treatment in a rehabilitation thing. The Crawford County mental health, community health, and the churches need to work together. I don't know if there's been working together, getting along, but they need to all work together. Another thing they said, that this is basically a 3 to 5 year just to get started. It's nothing like it's going to happen overnight. So it's a long haul. Where's the facility going to be? I don't believe it should be anywhere in neighborhoods. I think it should be somewhere that is maybe some of the providers might find a place for it.
Thank you. Dr. Sigley?
I think it was the Lord that said the poor will always be with us. And there will always be an element of the poor. Like Chuck this last weekend, I was in Wichita and I went to this same meeting and we heard city after city who's tried any number of different modalities to answer this problem. But there is no finite answer to this problem. You've got a number of people who want to be homeless out there, and you've got a number of people who would need and would like to have help. We listened to a young man who, in Chicago, who came out of Chicago, grew up on the streets, had no father. He and his mother moved to Louisiana. They were homeless for a year, and he told us about his story. He is a city attorney in one of our cities in Kansas today because somebody gave him help. Somebody gave him a hand up. And we need to identify those people that there are a certain number of people you're not going to be able to help. We have to face that. But there's a certain number of people that we can help. We can give them a hand up, a leg up, call it what you may. And they turn into wonderful and good citizens. So I think, we're pulling together a consortium of all the entities that can help right now, the organizations. There was a meeting recently, and I think that we're going to see that come to fruition at some point. And I think we're going to be able to help a lot of these people. We do have some crime out of the element, and I've heard stories, and you read the letter in the paper from the letter that the lady sent out on Facebook. And that's happened a number of times. You heard the incident in front of Bob's that's happened. We need to identify those people, and we need to get them help. Kansas is in the process of building a large mental hospital south of Wichita that we'll be able to triage, some folks do, at some point. But there are people we can help. We can give them a leg up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next question from the crowd will be answered first by Mr. O'Malley. And you guys can take it any direction you want, obviously. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing in Pittsburgh, what would that be? If you could snap your fingers and change any one thing in Pittsburgh, what would it be? 2 minutes.
Gosh, I wish our 3-year-old would stop yelling at us. I'm going to think out loud here a little bit. Let's see. Just boom, changed, what would it be? Gosh, I'd like more national championships at Pitt State. Has anyone ridden the rail car in Kansas City? Goes downtown. I would snap my fingers and poof, we would have a free public transportation thing that runs from the college to Walmart. Runs at all times. It's really great. Yes, it's a lot of money, but I'm snapping fingers so I don't have to think about what it costs to do this. Public transportation is not just for poor people. I would love to not have to think about driving and traffic and just to sit there and read or talk or look and get to where I need to be in town. If I could snap my fingers, I would improve public transportation options in Pittsburgh in that way.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Munsell.
If I could snap my fingers and improve things in Pittsburgh, it'd be the division that we have now. I've knocked on several doors when I've campaigned, and it's a lot different in the last few years than it was the last time I ran. And, everyone's got a difference of opinion. And just because you're different and have a different idea, we shouldn't be rude to each other when you knock on somebody's door. You should be able to maybe sit down and have a conversation. And I've knocked on some doors that people were totally in a different of opinion. But after I talk to them, sometimes I get a honk or something from my wife because I got to move on. But I spend a half hour talking. I spend a half hour talking to people. And, at the end, we're on the same page. So I would like, the only way you're going to get anything done to homeless or anything in the city of Pittsburgh, we all got to talk to each other, be more compassionate to each other. And, that's what I would like to see.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Okay, we'll ask. Okay, we'll ask that the audience please refrain from. Please just let the candidates state their case.
Going along with that, communication is vital between human beings. And I've probably come across, I would say probably 750,000 people in my lifetime between the Army and between practicing medicine here. And it's been wonderful. I've spoken to a whole bunches of people, listened to their stories. Some of them are fabulous stories, some are very sad stories. But the communication between one another is so important. between human beings, between families, that it's what makes America what it is. It makes it thrive. And we're getting away from that because most people are looking at their bloody phones. And that's where they're getting their information and their news. And that's not good. It's not good for our kids. It's not good for us as human beings. We don't speak to anybody anymore. I stopped at a restaurant on away from my lake cabin a couple weeks ago, and I went into a restaurant. There's a little place called the Pub, and I sat there and I watched these two couples come in. They sat down across from each other. The waitress came, gave them water, took their orders, and they never spoke a word to each other during that entire time. They were on their phones the entire, literally never spoke a word. You know, she brought the bill, they pulled out money, or their cards actually, put their cards down, and went out. Never said a word the entire time. And they were there probably 20, 25, 30 minutes. That's what's happening. We're not talking to each other. We're not communicating with each other. We're not saying, I love you for one thing. Talk to me, listen to my story. Everybody's got a story, and we need to listen to their stories. We as commissioners need to listen to their stories. You as citizens need to listen to each other's story.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sigley.
Will you say the question again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing in Pittsburgh, what would that be?
I would like to snap my finger and make Pittsburgh and Crawford County not be the poorest county in Kansas. I don't want to be number one and noted for that. I'd rather be Pitt State, national championship, or a lot of the things the guys here have talked about. But I don't want us to be the poorest county in Kansas because it's not a proud moment whenever we are. And we all need to work together to change that.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next audience question will be answered first by Mr. Mansell, and we'll tweak the wording just a little bit to make sure that it is applicable to all the candidates. So, what accomplishment are you the most proud of? You can take that any direction you want. What accomplishment are you most proud of? 2 minutes.
Citywide or family-wide or what?
Whichever direction you'd like to take it.
My family. That's all of us. Maybe get a little emotional like I do when you talk about them, but your family is what I'm most proud of.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sigley.
I would say my wife. She's been my guide, my leader, the wall I bounce everything off of. She's been wonderful throughout my life. And my 3 children, all who are very successful, doing very well, grandchildren. I think that's what I'm most proud of.
Okay. Ms. Brooks.
Definitely my family. I'm so proud of my parents. I always told them I'm so glad that I grew up in a normal, boring house because it was the best life ever. And I tell my mom and dad, my dad has passed away now, but they're my heroes. My husband of 40 years, he's my rock. We work together. I have 2 beautiful daughters, 3 grandsons, a granddaughter on the way. The people that you surround yourself by in your family, and I know this doesn't happen in every family, but in my world it does. God is first, then your family, and everything else falls into place after that.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. O'Malley.
Don't judge me, but I'm not going to talk about my family. I'm very proud of them. So there's a group in town called the Pittsburgh Area Young Professionals. In fact, I see one of their shirts in this room. Membership was way down. My year as president was last year, and we got it up to like 130 some members, biggest civic organization in the area, and we did something. It was our Christmas bike drive. And we thought, gosh, when you wake up, if you've been this fortunate, you wake up on Christmas morning, you run down the hallway, you turn the corner, and there's like a bike by a tree. It is a core memory that I have. It was a beautiful moment in my childhood. So many kids never get that moment. So we said, well, let's do something about this. I think we raised like $3,500 in 2 months. We got like 40 bikes. The next year we said, oh, we're doing this thing. We raised $9,000. We bought 103 brand-new bicycles for local children from low-resource families and helmets through a grant. We gathered at Riggs, put Santa hats on, and we each took like 5 or 6 bikes all throughout the county, and we went and delivered them all secret to give them to parents. That was such a beautiful moment for all of us that were involved in that, to be able to bless kids with a bike. Like, a bike is such freedom and it's such fun. Very, very proud of that, and so glad I got to be a part of that.
Okay, thank you. Well, before we close the audience question portion of the event, I'm going to go off script just a little bit, because there was a question that was asked that really isn't related to the city commission race, but I think it may be one that people that are watching or here in person may be asking, and I'll attempt to do my best at it. The question was, most people they understand that the city was involved in a cybersecurity incident. And so this person was asking, and it's affected the city's ability to do its normal business, including having city commission meetings lately. And this person was asking, how are we able to be here tonight? But it affects the ability for the city commission to meet. It's my understanding it has much more to do with the city's ability to do its business and even communicate, because if there were things that were discussed in a city commission meeting, it would be impossible for the city staff to follow up with that. So that's my best attempt at announcing that. Again, it really doesn't pertain to the city commission race, but just so that this person didn't think that we were not asking that question. That's what I would offer on that. So what we will do now is transition into our closing statements. First closing statement.
Can I make I'd like to make a little
Briefly,
statement
please,
on that. I'm taking my hat off as a candidate and putting my hat on as a city commission. Just for your edification, 90% of the city programs were backed up. So we were very fortunate, and there was 10% that we actually lost, or that was hacked. And the reason it was hacked is because we were in the process, the city was in the process of bringing a new program on board. And there was a hole from the old program to the new program, and that's where the hackers managed to get in. So 10%, and that was a functioning 10%. It meant we had difficulty paying people. The police department had problems, a number of other problems. But as far as the city business, the city is concerned, 90% we were backed up.
I'd like to say, follow up on that also, that when we were hacked, I didn't think about it for a while, but I was asked, how is this going to affect the citizens? You know, the city was hacked. They got information that they're going to ask for ransom, I'm sure, at some time. But my concerns were, if they can hack into our city system, can they hack into our personal accounts? A lot of us pay our water bills by credit card or direct deposit. So that was I'm concerned that the city's hacked, but, we got to protect the citizens' account, and I was told they're 98% sure that didn't happen. That doesn't make me feel that comfortable. I would like to hear 100% that won't happen. So I just want to add that to it.
Obviously, want to be fair time-wise with all the candidates. Ms. Brooks, Mr. O'Malley, anything? Okay, all right. So we will now transition into our closing statements. Each candidate gets 2 minutes. Dr. Sigley, you'll give your closing statement
Okay.
first.
As a community, we must support the many organizations and activities within the city, give us so much, to make life so much easier for us, the businesses, the school systems, the university, et cetera. If you listened to me yesterday at the breakfast, we have almost over 100 homeless children in this city, who, without the organizations that we have, such as Wesley House and the Lord's Diner, would only get one meal a day. They get one meal at school, but they get an evening meal also from these organizations. We're in dire need of housing, mid-income housing, even lower income housing. We certainly need that. that's affordable and also very safe. The needs of the homeless are a concern to us, obviously, and we're addressing that, and we want to keep addressing it. We want to come up with a remedy. Remedy is not always a cure. We come up with a remedy because there is no finite solution. I learned that this last weekend, listening to so many of the cities talk about this. As with all problems, there may be a cure at some point down the line, but there's not at the present time. There are no finite answers. What organization doesn't have any problems? We need to identify those areas where we can do better: streets, walkways, dilapidation, encourage owners to spruce up our city and their own areas, a general police action, if one would say, in the military. We have a great deal to do in our city. As for me, I'm encouraged working with fellow commissioners, city management, city workers, getting to know so many great people in this city, and people whose, as I said before, stories I like to hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brooks?
Okay, my closing statement is my pledge to the citizens of Pittsburgh. It's the same 4 years ago as it is today. I will respect each person. I will keep an open mind and share responsibility because this is our town. I will listen constructively. I do not work for city leadership. I work for the citizens of the city of Pittsburgh. I will not take a blind eye approach to what is going on that is not good or transparent, ever. I will be accessible to all. I will always be accountable. I will do what I say what I mean, and give my hometown 150%. I will strive every day to make Pittsburgh the best city that I can possibly be, along with the help of you. I'd like to thank Blake Benson and the Chamber and Ron Womble and the Morning Sun, and thank you for hosting this forum to allow the people the opportunity to hear these candidates. And I'd really like to thank Chuck and Matt and Ron for putting themselves out there, as well as myself, because it takes a lot. It affects your family, not only yourself. And a lot of times you can take a lot of hits, but their hearts are in the right spot and they're doing it for the right reasons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Malley?
To the Chamber and the Morning Sun, thank you for doing this. Gathering people, informing voters, it's very important. Lacey, I love you. Thank you for your unwavering support. I love you, I love you, I love you. Boys, my sweet boys, someday, decades from now, you'll find this video on YouTube because the internet is forever. I hope that you don't agree with everything that I've said. Be a voice, not an echo. Just be sure to put your feet in the right place and then stand firm. Mom, Dad, thank you for everything. You have done good. May God hold you and comfort you. I did not run this campaign to get any of these three out of office. In fact, we have good relationships. However, I'm up here for a reason. I mean, I think it's time for a change in the composition of our city commission. It's an important time to have a younger voice as one of the 5 commissioners helping to guide this city. I am a product of the changing world that we live in. $5 milk and $75 tanks of gas, they hit me a little bit differently. I also think that my insight, approach, and leadership style would benefit our commission and our community. I have lots of successful experience engaging people who see things differently than I do in productive ways, so that we can dream, act, and plan and work together. I think that's what leadership is. It's making progress on difficult challenges by mobilizing other people who are passionate about things. You have up to 3 votes to use on November 7th. Everyone you know has up to 3 votes to use on November 7th. When you're in that voting booth, you are as powerful as the richest and most influential person in this community. Voting is awesome. Do it. Tell other people to do it. Get out there. Let's get more people to vote. I would appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Munsell?
Well, I'm the same person that knocked on your door the first time I ran for commission. I haven't changed. I come around, talk to people. I want to get their opinion. I'm not a Facebook person. I'm a face-to-face person. I think that's very important. People ought to know who I am, and I want to know what their needs are. You know, once again, back to communications, I think that's very important, that you know who you might want to put as one of your commissioners. So that's why I do it. I'd like to see the city grow, every one of us does. I'd like to see more manufacturing come to town, in our new industrial park. Be a great place for 'em. And, you know, I'd like to get crime and drugs in our town under control, and that's gonna take some help from the sheriff's department, police department, and all of us. If you see something, say something. In closing, I'd like to thank the chamber again, and the newspaper, and all of you that came out. And I'd like to say I would appreciate your vote November 7th. Thank you.
Will you all give our candidates a round of applause, please?
One last thing, the Chiefs game starts in 17 minutes.
That's right. Well, thank you again to our candidates for your willingness to serve. Thank you to the city of Pittsburgh for hosting. Thank you to the Morning Sun. We'll take about a 10-minute break, come back with the candidates for USD 250 Board of Education.
Okay.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome this evening to the Pittsburgh Law Enforcement Center for a candidate forum focusing on the upcoming race for the USD 250 Board of Education. My name is Blake Benson with the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, joined tonight by Ron Womble, representing the Morning Sun, who not only is our co-sponsor on the event, but Mr. Womble will serve as our proctor for this evening and will be screening the questions from the audience. Again, a welcome. Thank you so much to our candidates, not only for your time here this evening, but being willing to serve the students and the families of the USD 250 School District. It's a big obligation, and appreciate you putting your name in the hat. The candidates were all made aware of the format and the ground rules. For those that watched the City Commission candidate forum just a few minutes ago, it'll follow the exact same format. A little bit different when we get into the questions. You all have 2 minutes for your opening statements and your closing statements. When we get to the questions in between, you'll have 90 seconds because there are so many candidates. But again, as we did with the City Commission candidates, the yellow card means you've got 30 seconds left, and the orange card means that you are at time. So that's kind of how we'll help you keep track of the time. You'll notice tonight we have 7 candidates with us. There are 9 candidates on the ballot. 2 of the candidates let us know in advance that they would be unable to attend tonight. One of the candidates, Mr. Akins, did provide his information and his answers in advance. Those are at the back of the room. If anybody here tonight would want to see those answers, those are available to anyone attending here tonight. So before tonight's event, we drew numbers just to see the order that you all would start. And Ms. Good is the first one that will go, and then we'll just rotate around so everybody will have an opportunity to go first at some point tonight. But before we begin, any questions? Okay. Each of the candidates will be afforded up to 2 minutes for an opening statements. And again, Ms. Good, you are first, so 2 minutes.
All right. I want to start just by thanking the Chamber and the Morning Sun and everybody here because being informed and engaged is so critically important. So thank you. I also want to extend a thank you to everybody who's up here with me. I think this is so awesome that we have this many people in our community willing to step up and serve on the school board. I just think it's fantastic. And these people, you know, part of it's just from living in Pittsburgh for 25 years, raising my kids here. This is a panel full of people who have taught my kids, you know, watched my kids grow up alongside their kids. They're my friends and colleagues, and I'm really proud to be up here with them. Those connections, you know, it's like I have a personal connection with almost everybody up here. And I feel like those connections are a really special part of living in Pittsburgh. You know, living in a small town like Pittsburgh, our connections with one another, they really matter. They're part of our everyday lives. And I think that that's a reason why our schools are so important, because our schools are a place where we form those connections, where we strengthen those connections. Our schools are really a place where we're building our whole community, because those connections that are being formed and strengthened, they're not just among students, it's among families, teachers, staff, the community, everyone. And something that is that important to the community, I feel should be informed by the community. So I really believe strongly that everyone in our community should have a voice in shaping our schools, and that we need to find ways to make sure that we hear all of those voices, because I believe that public education is for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Ms. English. We're sharing mics tonight.
Yes, we are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. I would like to just say thank you for having me. I've not ever done anything like this before, so a little out of my comfort zone. A little about myself. My name is Kim English. I am a wife. My husband's name is Deshaun English. I'm a mom. We have 3 children, Marquis, Mason, and Mackenzie. I'm a nurse. I work at the hospital out here in Pittsburgh. I've been there for 15 years. And Marquis, our oldest, started kindergarten in 2005 at George Nettles. And that was, we had just moved here prior to that. So we've been here 18 years in Pittsburgh. And I will always remember that because I was pregnant when we moved here. It's not easy. So my oldest, Marquis, started kindergarten at George Nettles, and he went all through our district, graduated from Pittsburgh High School. He currently is at Pitt State, working on his master's degree. He plays basketball with the men's basketball team and recently started subbing in our district, which is kind of interesting. And I'm glad he wants to be back and work with the kids in our district. Then I have Mason, who's a senior, and he also plays basketball, and he is doing all the senior things that come along with that. A lot of fun. And Mackenzie, our only girl, she's in 8th grade, and she's involved in everything. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lance?
Okay. My name is Carrie Lance. First of all, thank you, Blake and Ron. Do you need this over here further? I can be loud. I was a teacher. Okay. My name is Carrie Lance, and I've been a part of the Pittsburgh community for about 20 years, and went to Pitt State, got my elementary education degree. My first job was at St. Mary's Colgan. I taught there for 3 years before moving to Pittsburgh Community Schools. I taught at Meadowlark for 10 years, so I've had a lot of experience within the district and seen a lot of great things that we're doing and a lot of areas for improvement. And so I'm really passionate about being a public servant, giving back to the community. I currently am a 4-H youth development agent for K-State Research and Extension, and I get to serve youth across 4 counties. I really enjoy doing that. I have 3 kids of my own. One's in kindergarten, just started beginning of the spectrum. One's in 5th grade, and one just started at the middle school. They have attended, my oldest 2 boys attended George Nettles and Meadowlark both, so I've gotten to be a parent in 2 different elementary schools in our district, and that's been a good experience for them. I'm looking forward to giving back to the community that's been so great to me and my family, and thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for putting this on.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Grothier, steal a mic from left or right?
If I get a sugar packet to level this table, I'll go ahead and get started.
2 minutes.
My name is Jason Grother, and I want to thank you all for having us here tonight. I am one of the incumbents that's on the board now. Rusty Aikens is also an incumbent, and I will tell you that our names may not be on the same sign, but we're on the same page when it comes to what we believe and what our philosophy has been. I've been on the board for 5 years. I've enjoyed the time. I haven't seen this much turnout for school board business since COVID days, so it's a much more welcoming environment today, so thank you all for coming today. After 5 years, I feel like I'm at a point now where I have a little bit better understanding of what I probably should have known to begin with. And it's been a good experience. It has been painful at times because you learn a lot of things, and it is important that you listen to what people have to say. It's important that you listen to what is said and do a good job not to have a knee-jerk reaction to it. And I've tried to do that over the last several years. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I spent 3 years in Winfield. During that time, we were back and forth all the time. I'm an elementary education person. You might have seen my signs around town, the crayons. It's pretty fitting for me. I have an elementary mindset. I've spent all of my professional life in education. I've worked for the Galena Unified School District in beautiful and historic downtown Galena, Kansas for the last 23 years. Before that, I was in Wichita for 3 years, and before that, I was in Columbus for 3 years, 2.5. I have spent all of my life in public schools. If you asked me when I was younger what I was going to do, spending time in public schools would probably not have been a top priority for me. It took me a long time to get through, it seems like. But I will tell you, as I look back at all the wonderful people that I've had experience with over the years and the opportunities that I was provided, I feel that I owe a debt of gratitude for all those people that have served over the years to help me in my process of education. I'm very fortunate. I have 2 daughters that are seniors this year. They're highly skilled in the art of debate and forensics that we offer through our school district. Not something every father needs, but it is something that can provide some challenges. I'm fortunate in the sense that my girls have had every opportunity that they could possibly imagine, and most of that was because of public schools.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cronister?
First off, I start like everyone else, thanking you guys for being here, thanking you guys for putting it on. My name's Carrie Cronister, and I've lived in Pittsburgh since I was in the 2nd grade. We won't tell you what year that was, because that'll just make me sound old. I'm married to Keith Cronister, and some of you may recognize me from my glory days back at Cronister Ace Hardware. Keith and I have 5 children. Our oldest, Joey, is a senior now at PHS, and he's active in several clubs, organizations, and athletics. Our second child, Caleb, is a sophomore, and I missed his cross-country meet today so that I could be here. He's also very active at the school. Our daughter Lexi is an 8th grader, and she was playing the flute for the national anthem at the junior high football game tonight. And then our next son is Miles. He is 6 and Nick is 4, and you will often find them laying in the bleachers or begging to work a concession stand at any event that we are at. They absolutely love their time in the concession stand. I'm also the sponsor of CYM at our church, as well as president of 2 sports booster clubs. I was George Nettles PTO president for 10 years while our children went there. I currently work as an education specialist for Child Care Aware. And for the past 16 years before now, I was the preschool teacher at the PSU preschool, as well as teaching 3 lab classes and 2 lecture classes. I feel that all of these experiences are what helped me in stepping up to run for school board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feenan.
Yo. I had some stuff written down, and I'm making an audible here in honor of the Chiefs. I'm just going to wing this, and let's see what happens. My name is Mike Feenan. Many of you know me, some of you don't. Some of you know me in other ways, or if you've ever seen the Ghostbuster downtown, I'm that crazy guy. I've been in Pittsburgh for 20 years, 22 if you're actually counting. I plan to be here for 22 more, hopefully. I've lived about half my life. I like to think I have half left. I come from a family of educators. My parents are special ed teachers, were special ed teachers, and were 2 of the most gifted individuals you will ever see in a classroom work with students. It's unfortunate that they are no longer teaching, because if I could have squeezed another 50 years out of them, I would have. But the one thing I also took away from them in that process was the trials, the challenges, the things that made it hard for them to do what they were gifted at. And that's something no teacher at any level should have to deal with or have to go through. The teachers in the classrooms know their classes, know those students, and know their outcomes. And so I'm hoping to be put in this position to make sure that we continue to lift up on all of those levers to make sure that those teachers have that capability. You think of the world around us right now. In 20 years of my time here, I remember what Broadway looked like. I remember what was not there 10 years ago compared to now. And part of the reason that happens is because we have a flower bed right now in front of us with 3,300 seeds planted in it. And if we cultivate that garden bed and we help tend to that garden the way it deserves, we are guaranteed to get 20 more years of that kind of success for our community, because those students are as much a part of us as everybody else in here. And so that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Feenan. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Hi, good evening. I'm Megan Stoneberger Johnson. I'm a former middle and high school English teacher, and I'm currently a Sparkville Student Support Coordinator at Pittsburgh State University. I've worked as a para at Meadowlark Elementary School. I've been a substitute for this district and others. Thank you. I completed my student teaching semester at Pittsburgh High School, and I am the PTO secretary at Westside Elementary, where my son is a 2nd grader. I first decided to become a teacher because I believe in the transformative power of education. Teachers made the biggest difference in my life and are the reason I am the person that I am today. I'm just truly very passionate about public education. I feel blessed that even though I'm not a teacher anymore, I still continue to get to work with students and help them be successful in their education. I work with students who have significant barriers to completing their degrees at Pitt State, students who are young parents trying to juggle classes, students who aged out of foster care and have no family to support them back home. I myself am a first-generation college graduate and come from a single-parent, low-income household, and my experiences have given me a great deal of grit and resilience, but also a lot of compassion and perspective. Along with all of this experience and knowledge that I have about the field of education, I know that I will also be a fair and thoughtful board member. I have my master's degree in communication, and I taught at Pittsburgh State University small group communication, where I taught students how to work together with people to solve problems using effective communication skills, and I will use those if you elect me. I will work with the other board members, school leaders, parents, and community members respectfully, and I'm ready to listen to them and learn from them as well. I humbly ask that you will cast a vote for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for those opening statements. We'll now go into a series of questions that the candidates received in advance, and we'll ask up to 3 of these. And again, you candidates will have 90 seconds to answer each one of these questions. First, advanced question will be answered first by Ms. English, and the question is this. What do you see as the main responsibility of a board member, and is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education? I'll ask it one more time. What do you see as the main responsibility of a board member, and is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education? 90 seconds.
Okay. I thought a lot about this question because I actually feel that there's a lot of responsibility. I take that to heart. Too many that I can talk to about in 90 seconds. So when I really boiled it down, what it comes down to is what matters most, which is our students. Without them, there's nothing. That is our focus. So in regards to them only, I feel that it is the board members' responsibility to help guide the district, to help the students to continue learning and be on that path, to help them that by the time they have graduated, they are ready for that next chapter, whether that is employment, trade school, college, whatever their path is, that they're going to be ready to be productive citizens, and they just have that knowledge base and are prepared. I'm not going to go into anything more because there's too much.
Okay. All right. Ms. Lance.
I feel like Kim said, to echo that, there are a lot of responsibilities that the board holds, and I can tell you from being in the school district for 10 years, even I don't know, like Jason said, even after 5 years, he's still learning what some of those responsibilities are. And so I feel like a baseline is working with the community to make sure that our goals and our visions of the school district is aligning with our community goals and visions. It's our job to advocate for our students and to provide them the best education and the safest place to be, and to be the best district in Kansas. You know, we talked about the Dragon Way and Dragon Excellence, and we want to be the top school in Kansas, and that's one of our goals. It's our responsibility to set and approve the district budget, to make sure that we're getting citizens' dollars stretched as best as we can and put them in the proper places, making sure we're supporting our teachers, our curriculum, our education. One of my biggest passions is education in youth. I love youth leadership. I'm still getting to do that, like I said, across 4 counties with 4-H. But I want to advocate for our youth so they can give back to our community whenever they graduate, and they can be productive citizens and be great leaders within our community.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rothier,
I
would
couldn't-
ask that you maybe pull one of those mics a little bit closer to you,
I'll use
please.
this one.
Yeah, thank you.
I couldn't agree more with what she said about advocacy, because I do believe that the number one role of a board member of any board is advocacy, and advocacy for our children. I could give you the textbook example of what we're supposed to do, and I can tell you what we're told to do and things like that. I've learned a couple things. There's 3 things they told us that we need to do as board members: listen, listen, and listen some more. And I got to thinking, because I was listening, we got to add some action. Otherwise, I got one of those down. I'm not sure which one it was. There should be some action to that, but it needs to be very methodical. The advocacy is certainly the piece that you want to look at. The fiduciary piece of that is another piece that we look at. We're responsible for the tax dollars. There's 3 things that I think are important. You should look at the district, regardless of your role, and say, what are we doing that's great? And are we celebrating that? Because oftentimes that's overlooked. The second thing, what is it that we see that we can improve? Without it being judgmental or pointing the fingers, how can we make this better? And 3, are we doing everything possible to provide the resources necessary for everyone in the system to be successful? It sounds pretty easy, just 3 items like that, but you've got to listen to begin with and advocate.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chronister, 90 seconds.
As with everyone, I agree with what you've said so far. The main responsibility that I see of a school board member is to be an active listener and make connections with our students, families, and school staff. By making these connections and being an active listener, I will be a more informed board member. And again, tying into that advocacy part and taking action on it and when to do that. But first, you do have to listen. There was not a particular issue that motivated me to serve or to run for school board. I feel like it was my time to run and continue taking an active role in my children's education.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feenan.
So the great thing about this question is that the district's already answered it for us. If you go through, you can get the Dragon Way if you haven't read it. It's on the USD 250 website. And about 3 pages in, there's a section that talks about the expectations and the responsibilities, not just of the students and the teachers, but of the parents and the administrators. And there's a section in there that I deeply, deeply identify with, which is that we have the responsibility to create a conducive learning environment based on mutual respect and trust. And I cannot think of a more worthy goal for a board to have, not just with its administrators, not just with its teachers, but also with its students and with its community. Because that's where all of that power comes from. This is an engine underneath us. Get used to the metaphors. I have a ton of them. That school system underpins an entire community, and ensuring that not just that trust is there, but that respect is there, and that those students know that the adults around them are committed to them. Every teacher in those buildings has those kids in their heart all day and all night and all summer and all the times when some people think they aren't getting paid. That is one of those areas where we have to work on that mutual respect and trust, because every teacher will tell you that is not the way that goes. Like, these are the elements that we can take to heart and really use to power that conversation with the board.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Thanks. It's the responsibility of our school board to provide oversight and guidance to our district leaders. That guidance should reflect the needs of our students, their families, and our community at large. And in order to do that, we must be accessible, responsive, and respectful to all the different voices that are in our community and in our schools. We have a responsibility, board members have a responsibility to do their due diligence to be informed, and sometimes ask tough questions of our district leaders. We must ensure that the district is acting in accordance with the law and that we ourselves are acting in accordance with the law, which means we have to be informed of what the law says. I believe we have to have our teacher and our administrators' backs at times, because frankly, they're the professionals that are hired to carry out the work of our district. I really like the expression trust but verify. And I will be that kind of board member that asks questions. I trust you, but show me the receipts. What motivates me to run? I've thought about running for school board for many years, especially when I was a teacher, because I wanted school board leaders who understood the realities of the classroom and really valued education like I do. But ultimately, I ran this year because some USD 250 teachers asked me to. And as a former teacher, I feel a responsibility and a sense of duty to be a board member that supports our teachers.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Good.
Yeah, I think that being a board member is probably kind of a tricky business, because you have to have a clear idea about the purpose of education. But you also have to have a strong vision for what you want the schools to be. But most importantly, all of that, it has to be informed by your stakeholders, by the community, right? So listening, the theme, is of course really important. But not just listening, but what you do with that information. Because when you're on the school board, you're going to be listening to a very wide range of perspectives. And kind of like Carrie was saying, you know, I've taught in USD 250, my kids have come up through school in 250, but there are so many aspects of this school system that I just haven't had access to. I haven't had experience with it. There are so many experiences out there that I don't know about, and I'm not going to know about that stuff unless I listen and find ways for people to share that information with me. So you have to be able to listen. You have to make yourself accessible so that people can get to you, to get those ideas to you, to get those concerns to you, to get those questions to you. And then you have to be able to take all of that information and consider all of it when you're making decisions, so that you can do what is best for everyone. You have to be able to accept and understand that your perspective is limited and be open to all of these other perspectives that you are hearing. So I think that a board member has a responsibility to approach everything that they're doing with a collaborative mindset and with an open perspective, so that they can always be sure that they're doing what's right for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Our second advanced question tonight will be answered first by you, Ms. Lance, and the question is this: what do you see as 3 strengths of our district right now? 3 strengths, 90 seconds.
3 strengths. It was hard to narrow it down because we do have a lot of strengths across our district. But as I really thought about it, one of the things that I think we do really well is offer a variety of courses to our students. My son just started middle school, and I love that they're doing the explorations this year to be able to try different things for a shortened period of time. Because whenever you get an elective as a 12-year-old, you may not know what that is. But I love that we have the after-school clubs. They just have, at the high school level, our students can actually leave with certifications to go out into the real world and to begin working immediately. College isn't for everyone, and we're recognizing that, and we're getting our kids prepared for their future. We're preparing our youth for jobs that are not even created yet. So I feel like we're doing a great job. That kind of ties into my next one, which is I feel like our district is very adaptable. We saw that during COVID. We had to shift on a dime. It flipped our worlds upside down, and I felt like we came together. And this ties directly into my third one, is I feel like we're a big family. When things get tough, we bear down, we work together, and we do the best in what's right for our kids.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grothier.
I think the 3 strengths that we have in this district are the people, and the people. I mean, it's pretty straightforward and simple. You've done a good job of articulating a lot of the programs that are going on in the district, and there are a lot of moving parts, but it's the people that make these programs possible. People at all levels, students all the way to administration, to the board, the community. It's all of the people. Those are our strengths, and their strength in numbers, their strength in people that care, and their strength in community. And I feel like those are the 3 strengths that we have. There are a million details that surround those 3 things, but I think as long as the people feel valued, feel respected, feel heard, feel appreciated, they're living to the Dragon Way you guys mentioned earlier, I feel that we're trying to set a good example that others can follow. I feel like once you take care of those 3 things, I think everything else will fall in place.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chronister.
One strength that I see in our district is a strong community bond with the city of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh State University. Our community always backs our district, whether it's the construction lab building a gazebo at George Nettles, or people from the community coming in and talking to our classes. I feel like that's a huge strength that we have. Another strength I see is our amazing teachers and staff that work day in and out for our students. They go above and beyond to help our children. The last strength that I was going to talk about, Carrie kind of mentioned a little bit too, is our long list of activities and clubs to keep our children involved. Because when our children are involved in those kind of things, they're more apt to stay in school. The groups really flourish in the junior high and continue to build into the high school. I'm always amazed at the wide variety that our students have to choose from. Having this many activities leads back to my second strength, which is having teachers and staff to make those activities possible. Because without the teachers and staff being there after school to supervise those activities, we wouldn't have those. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feenan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo several things here, but I'll see if I can put a little bit of a spin on them, just to make it interesting for a minute and a half. So first and foremost, you cannot say enough good things about the various programs that we have in our school district, whether that's the technical programs, because we're not talking about just academic success. Academic success is just one piece of the puzzle. But we also see the students coming out of the technical programs that were mentioned, all of the extra and co-curricular programs that are offered through the schools, and the acclaim that they get at both the state and national levels. I've had the good fortune the last couple of years to work with some of those students outside of school, And the quality and passion and fortitude of those students is second to none. It is mind-blowing, the quality of kids that we are able to put through those programs, and I could not be more proud of Pittsburgh for doing that. The second one is real straightforward, teacher quality. We have incredible teachers in this community. That happens through all the partnerships we have, through the work we do with Pitt State, but the quality of the teachers here, every teacher I meet, I love. Every teacher I have the fortune to work with, whether that's through youth leadership or other programs, theater, debate, forensics, all of these things, the teachers are second to none anywhere else that I have been. And I can't say that about everywhere, because my third one is, and to echo the previous statement, the community engagement we get here cannot be beat.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Thank you. For me, our greatest strength is undoubtedly our students, all 3,300 plus of them. We have some of the most creative, thoughtful, intelligent young people sitting in our classrooms every day. We are blessed with a large, diverse student body from all walks of life. They bring unique perspectives and experiences into our buildings every day. And our children have enormous potential. Every single young person, even the most challenging students, deserve to have adults in their lives who recognize their value and potential and tell them that and champion that. And if I'm a school board member, that's the kind of person that I will be, because we have no asset more valuable than the kiddos in our classrooms. A second strength is undoubtedly our amazing teaching and support staff. We are blessed with amazing teachers who push our kids to the excellence that you've heard about. They care for our kids, they're thinking about our kids day in and day out, and they give guidance and support. We have highly qualified teachers in every building, and over half of them have master's degrees. They're just amazing. And then thirdly is the strength and quality of and breadth of our programs. As you've heard, we have a variety of academic and extracurricular options to meet our students' needs, to provide avenues for exploration and opportunity to shine and excel. Surrounding schools could only dream of having the things we have at USD 250.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Good.
Well, I don't want to be too redundant, but it seems pretty clear what the strengths of the district are. I think one of the obvious strengths to me is just being in Pittsburgh. You know, we have this great community here with a lot of people who are dedicated to expanding the arts and commerce and entertainment and recreation and all of these things. That's an incredible resource that we have access to, and an incredible support. Also, I mean, I have to jump on the bandwagon and say that the extracurriculars here are amazing. I am constantly floored by all of the opportunities that students have in Pittsburgh. We have great athletic programs, great arts programs, opportunities for public service, academic opportunities. And then there are all these other little clubs, you know, like the D&D club, the guitar club, the philosophy club, whatever. There's a club for everything. There is a way for every student to belong in USD 250, and that is a very special thing. But for me, the greatest strength of our district is hands down the teachers. I know a lot of people have said it. It can't be said too many times, because there are no teachers anywhere that are better than the teachers we have in USD 250. And I have the proof. I have 2 teenage children who came home from school the first week of school excited about what was going to happen this year, excited to go back to school the next day. And that is 110% because of their teachers, because their teachers show them that they are valued, loved, and that they are invested in them.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Good. Ms. English.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what some of these other fine people have said as well. So I do think that that speaks to the volumes of how we all can see the strengths in our district. I have support, and that comes in a few different ways. I think our community support. We have businesses and churches that want to work with us. We have booster clubs that have our parents and families that want to be involved and help be supportive. Our working relationship with PSU, and that's with our students going to them and their students coming to us. It's back and forth, and I think that that's a great asset. I also think that we have amazing teachers and support staff, and I think that They bring a lot of experience, and I feel like they're very valuable to us. And we have, again, the wide range of programs, and, with the programs, again, come the adult overseeing, so the support, and we have, our teachers are willing to, and support staff willing to go above and beyond and be part of those things rather than just, I'm going to do my job here and go home. Like, they're willing to do more.
Okay. Thank you all. And our final advanced question will be answered first tonight by Mr. Grothier, and it's really the flip side of the previous question. So what would you see as the top 3 challenges for the school district over, say, the next 5 years? Top 3 challenges over the next 5 years.
So the
90
top
seconds.
3 challenges, I'm going to start with people and know the next 2 won't be people. First one for our people, the challenge of getting quality people, retaining quality staff, recruiting quality staff, and making sure it's an environment people want to come back to and teach and be here until they retire, because we make differences in people's lives. Every one of us do. The second thing would be our programs. How do we continue with the program we have? How do we continue with the programs we have with Fidelity? But how do we stop and enjoy the progress rather than overlook it for the pursuit of perfection? We need to make sure that programs we have now are being implemented correctly and that we're evaluating those. And we have a vision to look forward. The third thing would be our places. All of our buildings need repairs. Now, we've recently remodeled. We as a community have passed the bond for the front of the middle school. And we talk about something we all should celebrate, because the community came out by the numbers to support that, because we value our buildings. We value our programs that are inside those buildings, and we certainly want to make sure we're valuing the people that are inside of those buildings. So we have our people, we have our programs, we have our places. The last one I believe was our progress. How do we continue with our progress and make sure we're living up to the standards we set for everyone?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cronister.
I believe safety is a top priority for parents. In feedback I've been given while door-to-door campaigning, this is one of the most talked about issues. I believe our district is working hard to keep our children safe. When I went to the high school this week to present to the current events class, I saw the addition of the scanner to keep track of who was in the building, and I think that's a great asset. 5 years often feels like a long time, but we know it will be here before we know it. I believe we need to have a plan that addresses our future needs as far as growth. We know that the city and the chamber are working hard to bring housing and childcare and new employment opportunities to our area, and this will only grow our schools. So having a plan as far as what will happen when we outgrow the buildings or the spaces that we're in. The last challenge I see is one that I believe we can all relate to, and that is the budget. I know I have watched our household expenditures climb rapidly within the last year, and I can only imagine what that looks like for our district as far as the cost of food and gas alone. As well as everything else rising. And I believe this makes it even more important to review the budget and spending with a fine-tooth comb.
Okay, thank you. Same question.
That's still Megan, I swear. Don't mind that she doesn't have a name anymore. Listen, USD 250 is not a perfect district, but it's pretty dang good. And one of the things that I think about when I look at the challenges that we have coming at us in the next 5 years is that most of what we face is not unique to us, which means we can collaborate with districts across the state to figure out what we're going to do. One, to echo part of what Jason's comment was, teacher retention is something you always have to be in front of, even when it's going well, because it's a problem that can always sneak up on you. We have great teachers, and how many of us, all of us, I believe, commented on how important our good teachers in this district are. We have to keep them here. Continuity in successful education is intrinsic to success. And so staying in front of that is an ever-present challenge. We also, budgets are a thing, but the fact of the matter is we have to back our teachers, and that means making sure we are finding the resources, however we have to do it, to make sure we have enough ESOL support in our schools, because that population is booming. We need to make sure we have enough paras and good paras in those classrooms to help those teachers out with students who are on IEPs. And more importantly, we need to make sure we are keeping mental health at the forefront, because it's one of the single biggest challenges facing the success of our students. The third thing, because I'm going to run out of time really fast, is simply maintenance in space. Jason also hit the nail on the head on it. We came out, we did all of this work for the high school, for the middle school, it's fantastic. But we still need to hit those K-5 schools as well and help them out.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. A major challenge that we face is preparing our students for the rapidly changing workforce and society that they are entering. The world is different than whenever I graduated high school and when many of you did as well. So we will have to be agile and nimble as a district, able to adapt to the changing needs of the workforce that we are preparing our students for. This means that we will have to be models of lifelong learning and continue to learn new skills and techniques to meet the needs of our students today. A second challenge that we have, that we face is our growing student body. The population in Pittsburgh is growing, and every year we have more students enrolling at USD 250 than the year before. And as you know, trends are indicating Pittsburgh is going to continue to grow. So to meet the needs of our growing student body will absolutely be the charge of whoever is elected. If I am elected, I will prioritize meeting those needs without sacrificing the quality of our teaching or teachers' abilities to do their jobs. And I will work to ensure we don't perpetuate or worsen inequalities already that exist in our community. The third challenge we have related to that is the statewide teacher shortage. We must prioritize retaining our teachers. We have an exodus of teachers like me and Carrie who have left the profession, and we cannot afford to lose our teachers, and we need to be a school that new teachers want to come to.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Good.
Well, I have to agree about teacher recruitment and retention. It is a major issue across the nation, and it's also a major issue right here in Pittsburgh. And in order to address that, we have to really listen to teachers when they tell us what they know they need. When they tell us what they know needs to be happening in schools and classrooms, what they know needs to happen for us to be able to have a district where teachers who are teaching here are calling their friends in other districts and saying, hey, come teach in Pittsburgh with me, you're going to love it, I love it here. Where teachers who retire from here want to come back and sub because it's such a great district. That's where we need to be. We know that teacher turnover and staff turnover, because it's not just teachers, it's bus drivers, it's paras, it's food service workers, it's everybody who is working in these buildings to take care of our kids. When turnover is happening, we see educational outcomes harmed by that turnover. Even if the turnover isn't happening in that student's classroom, research shows that the result is harmful to kids and their outcomes aren't as good. Also, as has been said, enrollment is going to continue to grow. We're going to have more students. That means more English language learners, more kids coming from poverty, more kids that need special services. And if we do not have the correct and adequate allocation of funds, the right staff, adequate facilities, that is going to be detrimental to all our students. Sorry, no time for the third one.
Thank you, Ms. Good. Ms. English.
Thank you. I agree with all of these. I have down space is going to be a major concern. And since Carrie and I went together to do the current events class, we realized pulling into the parking lot at 8 o'clock in the morning that the parking lot is already a concern. There's not enough parking for our student drivers. So that is a more quicker than 5 years type of problem. Budget concerns as well. I agree with what they have said, and I think that since we are able to list multiple things that are going to be areas that we need to work on, that budget is going to be very important to be able to fine-tooth comb it and make sure that we're getting the most out of what we have to work with to make the most of the challenges that we're going to see. And I also think that mental health, and that we see that in our community, we see that with our children in our homes, and we need to be able to have the resources available to not just the students, but our staff and everyone included.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lance.
Wow, well, going last leaves you with not very many options.
I know.
My very unique one of mental health. One of the things that I'm most passionate about and that has led me to run for school board is not only having my children and the hundreds of children that I've taught in the past at my best interest, is teacher retention. I am so passionate about that. We have lost hundreds of good teachers over the last couple of years. Those teachers that are highly qualified, highly certified, master's level, doctorate level teachers walking out our doors mid-semester. I was one of them. I was not asked why I left. We need to be doing exit interviews and we need to be talking to people. Why are they leaving our district? We need to be finding out, we need to be fixing the problems. And I get really passionate about that because I never saw myself leaving Pittsburgh School District. And I want to still be able to give back to our students in our community, maybe in a different role where I can help build that back up and retain some of those good quality educators. Our suicide rate, to talk about the mental health population, has drastically increased. We are doing really well at trying to adapt with that and meet our students' needs. We have school-based therapists in every school, but we need to continue to learn and grow in that area.
Okay. Thank you all for your answers to that. And we'll now shift into the portion of tonight's event as much as time will allow with a number of candidates for questions from the audience. And a number of great questions that have been submitted to Ron. And he screened those and pushed them over here to the side. So you'll have 90 seconds to answer each one of these. And the first one was touched on here with the last question. But want to give an opportunity for a deeper dive into this issue because I think it's something that a lot of people would want to know your thoughts on. So we've talked about teacher retention, and it is obviously an issue nationwide. Specifically, what ideas do you have or would you support for supporting teacher retention? What ideas would you have for supporting teacher retention? Ms. Chronister?
I think there's lots of ideas and lots of things to try. I think it comes back to the environment that our teachers are working in and if they're feeling supported behind the scenes and how their work environment is. I would like to see just giving more support to the teachers, getting their feedback, again, being that active listener, feet on the ground in the classrooms, getting feedback from teachers, and then seeing what we can do to improve it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feenan?
You never want to tackle teacher retention from behind. You don't want to let it get out of hand. You have to be proactive with how you engage a classroom and the person that's leading that classroom. And when it comes to teacher retention, I mentioned previously, we need to get resources in those classrooms very specifically because there are 24 hours in a day and teachers use as much of that as they can already. And so when they also don't have the assistance that they need in those classrooms, they don't have the resources, they have challenging students without people to help with that, that is one of the leading components of burning somebody out and making their success unsustainable. You have to set them up for success. You have to be proactive about that. You also need to get in those hallways and just talk to them. Don't wait for teachers to come to the board or to go to the principal and hope the principal comes to the board and you play that telephone game. We start off this whole conversation with what is a responsibility of a board. And part of that, we've talked about listening and conversations. That's the thing. People will tell you what is wrong. I think every one of us up here will be able to identify with the teachers we've talked with already. And they are very willing to tell you what their problems are. So let's start there. Let's take those things and let's make sure we get out in front of the things they need to make their classroom successful. And now we've taken step one to making sure that this is a place that they want to stay.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Yeah, as a person who also never saw herself leaving the field of education, I care a lot about this. And absolutely, we need to help our teachers feel valued and respected and that they have a hand in shaping the culture and climate in their schools and their working conditions. There has to be meaningful input from teachers in a variety of ways, such as anonymous surveys where they can anonymously share their input, but also meaningful input face-to-face. I have had teachers express to me they don't feel like that they are heard by the school board or by administrators, and I will be there with open ears. I want to hear what you have to say. One thing that has been repeated to me by teachers is when you put one new thing on my plate, you have to take something else off. Teachers work way too hard already, and we need to be prioritizing their ability to be quality educators and do quality instruction, and when they're too overburdened, they can't do that and they leave. So we can't do that. And frankly, I like Carrie Lance's idea of having meaningful exit interviews. I did not work for this district. I worked for a neighboring district, but nobody asked me why I left either, and that is a problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Good.
Salaries and resources, those things are great, but I think the best thing that we can give teachers is our trust. We can trust them that they are the experts in their field, that they know best what is going on in their classrooms, what their students need, and how they should be delivering services to those students to support them and their families in the best way possible. We have to accept that each teacher in their classroom may even know those things better than any of us up here or the 7 people on the board. We have to trust them. We need to give them the flexibility to do the things that they know need to be done in their classrooms. I think we need to invest in teachers. So we need to find ways to provide them with curriculum coaching that is confidential, that meets their needs, that is individualized, not associated with any kind of evaluation or responsibility or obligation, but really a service to them, a support to them. And we need to find ways to give them the resource that they want. More than anything, I guarantee you, time. They should have can't talk. They need to have enough time to do an appropriate amount of planning and preparation for their classes, and enough time to reflect on what they've already done and the assessments that they're doing.
Okay, thank you. Ms. English.
I think all of those sound great, but I would like to just say, if we want to know what would help with the teacher retention, and that is specifically asking the teachers, and then giving value to what they say and listening to them. Feel like the time, the exit interviews, and just all of these are good suggestions and good places to start. I feel like our overall morale within the district is down from what I've seen in years past, and I want to help change that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lance.
Will you repeat the question again, please? At
Yes.
this point? Thank you.
Yes. What ideas do you have for supporting teacher retention?
Okay, thank you. Being a teacher that left the district, I have a lot of ideas. That's one of the reasons that I'm running is because I've complained about the problem. And if you continue complaining about the problem, you're part of the problem. I want to be a part of the solution to that. Our teachers are getting burned out because we have a massive sub shortage. That's not a unique problem to USD 250, but we live in a university town that specializes in education. We have got to tap into that. We have clinicals and lab students already coming into our buildings, but we also have a para shortage that those students could be working on their off days of education. The teacher trust is a huge thing, like Ellen mentioned. I went to college for 4 years, had a master's degree after that in tech integration, and I wasn't really asked what curriculum I needed to be supportive in the classroom. It was, here's your curriculum that you're given, and this is what you need to teach. So either we need to work with Pitt State on the teaching program, that whenever you go in, these are the resources you're going to get, and this is how you teach from them, or we need to learn how to be flexible and adapt to some of our new learning styles with our youth. I also think that we need to do the exit interviews. We need better para pay for para support so our teachers aren't getting burned out. They preach self-care to all of the teachers, but we can't take a day off because we don't have a sub. Thank you. I could go on for days.
Thank you.
Yeah, if
Mr.
you only
Grothier.
had 90 seconds to solve these problems, man, it made my life a lot easier, trust me. So, I know that's a question from the audience, and I don't want to give a clarification on it because I don't want to change the question, but let's think of this in the terms of everyone inside the district, because everyone that works in the district, classified, certified, doesn't matter. There is a burnout at all levels. I couldn't agree more with what we've said here, but I think there's a couple things I'd like to touch on. Let's think about fire prevention rather than fire extinction, putting it out. Let's try to get ahead of it, like you mentioned down there. The exit interviews are good for the people that come after them. Let's not get to the point to where we have exit interviews. Let's try to get before that. The same way with the student. Let's not wait till they fail to decide we try to do an intervention. It seems pretty simple, right? I think the takeaway from that would be is we need to make sure that as a district and district leaders, regardless of a district leader, because we're all leaders in the district, are we setting an example and are we living up to the expectation we have set for others? If we expect this of someone else, are we ourselves doing that? The Dragon Way is another good one. When we have the Dragon Way, that's great. And you've done a good job of highlighting some of the things that are in there. But are we living to that? And are we making sure that everyone is being fair and being equitable when we do that?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cronister?
I started.
We started, okay, yeah, sorry about that, yeah. I thought so, yeah, yeah, okay.
No wonder it took an hour to lose
Yeah.
track.
So many of us.
Yeah, I know, yeah, thank you.
Still Thursday?
Yeah, I think so.
Our next audience question will be answered first by Mr. Feenan. Interesting question. What areas would you like to see USD 250 spend more and less money towards?
Oh,
What area, and I'll say it again to give you a couple of seconds more to think about your answer. What areas would you like to see USD 250 spend more and less money towards?
I think more is relatively easy in this context because we've already covered a lot of it, and it's not just, you can't just throw money at people. You can, and it's fun, trust me. But they got those boxes in Vegas, you can just grab the dollars. We absolutely have to spend more money on paras, on ESOL, and on mental health support in the school district, period. If you go to the USD 250 website, there's a needs assessment for every single school in our district, and every single one of them calls those issues out. We have to tap into that and take care of it, because that makes teachers successful and that makes students successful. No questions. That's just an area we have to dig into and figure out a way to move the chips around a little bit. As for less, man, that one's a lot harder because everywhere can always do more with more. And I'm going to flat out tell you, I'm not sure where I would take something away from, because anywhere you take away, you are going to hurt. Would I take it away from the lunch programs? No. Would I take it away from the libraries? Absolutely not. Do I take it away from the funding for, the cops that go outside? I don't think we pay them actually, but, well, the city does. But there's none of these areas are places where we can take from. And so I don't like half that question, and so I'm going to choose not to answer it.
Get that right.
We don't have to answer that second part, huh?
No, technically I ran out of time,
It's an interesting question for sure. Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is a tough question, particularly on where to spend less, but of course you had to stretch your dollars to cover all of the needs of the district. With the previous question, one thing that we do need to spend more on is on our support staff, our paras, and our substitutes, the people who keep our school running, our bus drivers, right? We shouldn't be having the people who are caring for our kids like making poverty wages, right? These should be jobs that can support the people who are supporting our kiddos, and they can live lives of dignity. That, to me, is a no-brainer. I think we need additional support for kindergarten readiness and for supporting our at-risk youth. I mentioned that I work with students who are at risk at Pittsburg State University, and it is undoubted that evidence supports that when students have barriers at home when they are food insecure, they have unhealthy household, they're dealing with stressors outside, they're not learning. So supporting those students and meeting those basic needs. One of those basic needs and a policy that I would like to see changed is the practice of giving students a brown bag lunch when their parents owe money for school lunches. I'm a member of Pittsburgh Area Young Professionals, and last year we raised some money to cancel all the lunch debt, and it was like a couple $1,000s. That's not nothing, but that's a drop in the bucket for our district, and it is so shaming and embarrassing to a student handed one of those lunches at no fault of their own.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Good.
I absolutely love everything Megan just said.
Thank
First
you.
of all. But also, I think that for me, it's always going to be people is always going to be the place where we want to spend more money. That does mean salaries, especially for classified staff. That is very important, as you heard Megan speak to. But also, it's about other things that we can invest in that support people besides their salary, other kinds of supports that we can give people, teachers and classified staff, just to make their job easier, more pleasant, and make them want to come to work in the morning a little bit better. Removing barriers, investing in things that will remove barriers to their success in the classroom and at schools. I think as far as spending less money, obviously, again, that's a really hard question to answer, and especially not being an expert in the way that funds are allocated right now, and knowing all the ins and outs of the school budget, it's hard. But I would say, just in general, the way I would prioritize things is that something that would be kind of low on the priority would be, changing new curriculum and new special programs. Frequently, or whatever the latest trends are in technology or classroom management, styles or trainings, things like that. I think that we can invest in our teachers a lot better by investing in giving them time and resources instead of just new curriculums and things like that.
Thank you, Ms. Good. Ms. English.
I think that we would definitely want to spend more with our bus drivers and transportation system, our support staff, and the list for that goes on and on. There's a lot of areas in which we could do that, and I don't know that I know the answer, honestly. It's something I would want to be able to look more deeper into and take some real time and consideration. I think that we really need to, again, put a lot of thought with the budget and just get the most that we can out of every dollar that we have. I feel like trying to answer that on the spot is not enough consideration. I wouldn't want to specifically give an answer to it and then be like, no, I want to change my answer now. And I can't without knowing the complete detail of the in and outs of where the funds are. I don't feel like I can give a guess, but I wouldn't say it's an educated guess at where we could eliminate some of that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lance.
I want to echo what everyone's had to say about our support staff. One of the reasons of teacher burnout is we don't have enough support in our classrooms, whether that's paras or special education support, ESOL support. My very first year teaching in the district, I had 12 students who were either on an IEP or an ELL, non-English speaking. 3 of them were non-English speaking. And it's very difficult to provide a great education for our students whenever there's so many barriers without support. I don't feel like we're doing our kids at the middle and the top end any justice because we're spending a lot of support and focus on a lot of time on students who are failing, which we need to be doing that, but we need to have more support to be able to better support them and to continue to grow our students who are on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. I think that as far as answering the less question, I don't think we need to spend less money. I think we need to spend our money better. We need to look at that budget and see where those dollars are actually going, how we're spending it, why we're spending it. We need to talk to those teachers that we are trusting for what they need in their classrooms, what support that they actually need. And a lot of times, like being in the classroom, I know some things were purchased without ever asking what was needed in the classroom.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grothier.
Let's go straight into the question everybody wants to answer about what we can spend less on. Okay, folks, we're trying to get elected here. All right, so I'm just saying, that's a fair question. So, story, right? Dude, did you not know that? So, we have to be, we're fiduciary agents is what they call us, in the fact that we're responsible for tax dollars. And anytime someone sees something they don't like, they think we shouldn't fund it, right? It doesn't matter what it is. If they don't like it, that's it. Get it out of there. You have to be careful when you adjust your funding. When you make an investment, you have to make sure that you can continue that investment, because you never want to start a really super wonderful program and then turn around 1 year later and have to fold it because you don't have the funding for it, because you didn't have the vision or the planning to pay for that. I'm the worst person on earth to ask what you want to spend more money on, because I want to spend more money on everything. I know that we have, as they say sometimes a lot towards me in the meetings we have now, we have infinite amounts of needs and finite amount of resources, and then they always get the eye like. Okay, all right, I'm learning, I get it. But we want to make sure that we're spending that money wisely, that we see returns on it. Certainly our people, but I have learned through a couple of years of negotiations now, it really isn't about the money. The money helps, and the money is very important. There are so many other factors to it. Money will help with some of that when you change your culture, but you just have to spend wisely and have to make sure that it's stable and consistent.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Chronister.
This question, I think, is similar to the one you asked in the city forum about if we had $1 million, what could we give it to? Or if we could snap our fingers and solve all of these issues, what would we solve? Again, I think everybody is correct in saying more money for support staff, for bus drivers, paras, our teachers, more money for supplies in our classroom, more money to help the lunch program. Like, there's infinite things we could give more money to. As far as less, without having the budget in front of me and being able to see where all the money goes, I don't really feel like I can make a good thing on where we should stop spending or cut spending on, so.
Okay. Thank you all for your responses on that. And our final question from the audience tonight, we had a lot of good questions. Unfortunately, we just have a limited amount of time, so we're not able to ask all of them. But our final audience question tonight will be answered first by Ms. Stoneberger Johnson. And the question is, what are your feelings on the banned books issue? We'll end with a doozy. So one more time. What are your feelings on the banned books issue? 90 seconds.
I used to be a high school English teacher, so I had my experience with addressing parents' concerns about content in the classroom. And every time I was able to talk about the reasons why we were reading the works we were reading or the assignments that I came up with and defend it with state standards. And that's because I was a professional and I was trained in what students needed to learn and what was appropriate for them. Honestly, the classroom is the best place to come face to face with challenging materials because it's a safe space with a trained mediator to help you grapple with tough questions. I always wondered when a concern was raised about that when my student had a smartphone in their pocket 24/7. There is far worse content that is completely unmediated without a trained adult helping them understand that material. Education is about growth and learning and seeing outside of your limited perspective. And our school board, if faced with a challenge, needs to defend our teachers and our students' rights to learn.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gu.
Well, you heard me talk about trusting teachers, and I would include school librarians in that category. We have amazing school librarians and teachers and other professionals who are highly trained. They are experts in their fields. They are staying up to date on all of the books and content and material that goes into our schools and goes through our classrooms. And I trust those people to curate all of those things using their expertise in a way that would never be harmful to a student. I trust that those teachers care about our kids, they care about their safety and well-being, and they care about their intellectual development, and that they're going to make the right choices about that material. I know that they know more about the books that are coming across their desks, the books that are being published every day, than I know. I'm not able to keep up with those things, but our librarians and teachers have a vast amount of training to rely on, and they keep in touch with others across the nation, read reviews. They're actually reading these materials, evaluating them, and ensuring that we have all of the best, most useful materials in our schools to support students, to support their emotional development and their intellectual development. So I trust librarians and teachers, and I think they are the right people to be making decisions about the content and books in our schools.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Good. Ms. English?
I've actually been asked this question a lot of times so far already, because apparently I think we might have a reputation for being out to ban books, which is not the case. We do want, I say we, because Carrie Chronister and myself are on the sign together, and so we feel similarly with a lot of issues, and so I say we, because we want them to be age appropriate for whatever building that is. I don't expect that there would be things in an elementary building that would not be appropriate for an elementary age child, like that sort of example. Since we're not talking specific books, I'm going to mention history books, because I do think that our history needs to be taught the way that it has been, the way that we have lived out in our country, without worrying about stepping on toes or placing blame. I don't think that anyone living today has the ability to rewrite our history for us.
Thank you. Ms. Lance?
Okay, this is really funny. I actually had a phone call from a person in Colorado and asked why I was running for school board because I wanted to ban books. And I was like, wow, you're from a different state. That's really cool. I'm not here to ban books. Actually, one of my very favorite books that I just got done rereading for the 50th time is To Kill a Mockingbird. And as you know, is a banned book and also addresses historical events. My favorite part about that book, though, is talking about walking around in someone else's shoes. We've got to listen to and have some empathy with each other. I'm not here to ban books, but I will tell you I was a kindergarten through 5th grade librarian for 4 years. I cannot tell you that I know every single book that's in that library, being there for 4 years. And I can promise you that every librarian ordering books doesn't know the content of every single book that's in there, other than the grade level that it is and age appropriateness. I will also tell you that I had parents call me and address issues, and as those issues came up, we addressed those books. We talked to the parents about it. Books were not pulled from the shelf because it's actually in our licensure that you cannot censor the books. But we will work with parents as issues come up and talk to them and address those issues. Within our system, we can make notes that specific children, their parents should be involved with them, should be talking about the content they're seeing on TV and reading in books, and they need to discuss those specific issues at home. It's not for us to decide what that content should be other than age appropriateness.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lance. Mr. Grothier?
Not a book burner. I'm not a book burner.
Fair enough.
Yeah, not going to burn books. The burning books can be, the smoke from that can be seen for miles around. That's probably got a call. Not a book burner. I believe that you should educate, not incinerate. I think that it's pretty simple. And, I could talk for days about that. I think I'm just going to leave it at that because that's the best way I can answer that question.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Chronister?
I've been in education for many years, teaching preschoolers how to read their letters, books in our library. In charge of buying all of them. I am not for banning books either.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Feenan?
I'm going to approach this a slightly different way, believe it or not. Listen, I have a lot of very strong feelings about this, and my feelings on it are irrelevant. What's going to matter to the people who are voting is what I would do about it. And in my mind, there is a happy medium on these kinds of things. I think a parent absolutely deserves the right to be able to go to a school and say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with my child having this material. Please don't let them check it out. We have computers in libraries and checkout systems. That's an easy type of feature to facilitate. Where I absolutely draw the line is when a parent comes in and says, this content offends my sensibilities, therefore you must remove it for everybody. And I'm not going to mince words on that. That is not something I support, and it is not something I would back. I don't mind people making decisions for their lives, their families, and their children. But schools are big. They have lots of kids from lots of backgrounds with lots of experiences and comfort levels and backgrounds, and the things you can learn from many. Go look up the books on some of these lists that get passed around. Many of those books are objectionable for all the wrong reasons, and there are stories to go along with all of those books of how they have helped people. And so it is not our place to get in the way of that. Education is about challenging, to Megan's point, challenging points of view, exposing yourself to new and interesting things.
Okay, thank you all for your responses on that. We'll now transition into our closing statements. Again, each candidate will get 2 minutes for a closing statement, and Ms. Good, you will begin with the closing statements.
Okay. Well, I think that if you really boil down almost everything that we've heard tonight, and, you know, if I really boiled down everything that I believe about the school board, it would all come down to respect. I think it's all about respecting parents. We know parents are kids' first teachers. They're the kids' most important teachers. We have to respect their perspectives and meet their needs. It's about respecting our community, you know, recognizing that Pittsburgh is a great place and we have opportunities and resources here that are as good as anywhere. We need to utilize those resources. And it's about respecting teachers and staff, everybody who is working in our schools to support our kids. We have to support them in more ways than just money and materials. We have to create an entire culture of respect. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are. Sometimes when I am watching the news or looking around, it feels like maybe there's sort of a shortage of respect around today. And I'll tell you what, I don't really know a better way to address that deficit than cultivating a community of respect throughout every component of our school system from top to bottom. Because I know that if we nurture respect in our school community, then we will see that thrive in our community, in our town, where we live, where we work, you know, where we go to the grocery store, go to the movies, or whatever. We will see that in our community if we build it in our schools. That's why I'm running for school board. That's why I think that public schools are very important. And I hope that you agree with me. If you do agree with me, I hope that you will consider voting for me on November 7th.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Good. Ms. English.
I tried to just look up and not read from my paper earlier, and then I went back and I was like, oh, I didn't say that. I wanted to say that. So this is going to be a little more read from because I don't want to miss any parts. But I am a mom who has had kids in the district for a lot of years and still have years yet to come. I want to see our school district be a place where our teachers and support staff are excited to go to work. I want the USD 250 to be known by others as a district that is desirable to work in. I want for our students to be able to look back years after graduating and realize that USD 250 made a difference in their lives. And I want for our parents and families to know that USD 250 cares about their kids and wants to work with them in supporting their child. I am a nurse who advocates for my patients, and I want to continue that on to the school board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lance.
Okay. I think that having some experience within the district for the 10 years that I was able to work for Pittsburgh Schools has enlightened me to a lot of the great things that we do, and I want to be able to help support those, and I want to help be a part of the solution for the things that I feel like we could do a lot better within our district. I'm an honest person. I'm straightforward. Some people would say I'm very blunt. You don't ever have to wonder what I'm thinking because I'm probably going to tell you. And transparency is one thing that I strive to live my life by. I believe that in order to achieve excellence and to be an excellent district, that we've got to be transparent with our teachers, our students, our community, our businesses, parents, everybody that is involved in our students' lives across this district. My bottom line is that I am here for kids. I'm passionate about kids. There's a reason I went into education. I want to do the best that I can to be a part of this board and be a part of a team that wants the best for our kids. And I want to have their best interests at heart. I want them to be able to leave our district and be productive citizens and give back to our community. I want them to want to stay in Pittsburgh and to give back to the school and to the teachers and community that has supported them. I'm always open to listen. I can have an opinion, a personal opinion, and I am willing to see the other side of it. I never, in the classroom, never got onto a kid without hearing the other kid's side of it. So I'm willing to listen. My phone number is on my website, on my Facebook page. My email address is on my Facebook page, and it's there for a reason. I'm open to talk to if you have questions. So give me a call. Vote for me on November 7th.
Thank you, Ms. Lance. Mr. Grothier.
So I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I appreciate that we have so many candidates to run, and I appreciate hearing everyone's views and opinions, because I feel like whether I get to be reelected or not, I feel like we'll be good in hands as a district, and that's all that you would want. So you as voters have a difficult decision. I've had 5 years' experience on the board. I have that as an advantage and a disadvantage. You're not going to see surprises. My goal is that I get better every day, each day, every day. I've had a lot of opportunities over the last few years. I've had the opportunity to be proven wrong, yet still be respected. I've had the opportunity to be respected and also be wrong, and continue to go through that. We always reserve the right to be wrong. That is really kind of how I roll a little bit. The more I know about things, I tell my girls a lot, because I'm very proud of my children. They are doing the best they can to raise us. I tell people they're aging out of the system, and my granddaughter said, "Dad, we're graduating, there's a difference." Okay, so sorry for me for the terminology. My girls have made me a better person, and they've had opportunities that I never had. And I was very fortunate. I was incredibly fortunate. I know that not everyone has that opportunity. The access that we have to quality education in this district is something we should all be bragging about. If you come and you find fault, bring a fix with you, okay? Or tell us what we can do to make it better, because the more you know, the more you realize you didn't know. It can be overwhelming. It really is. As I mentioned, I've had some experience. It could be good or bad. I hope that you look at my experience that I've had, and I hope you understand my views and my things that we have worked together as a board, not just me. And maybe my mouth didn't write a check that the rest of my body can't cash, I suppose you'd say, because you're really only as good as your actions. Your words talk is cheap, but action, you measure merit by your actions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cronister.
Oh, man. 18 plus years ago, before we had kids, I was always the one that wanted to, oh, let's move, let's go here. And my husband was like, no, 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 we're staying here. And I have to say it was the best decision ever. We love raising our children here. We've been so pleased with their education. I want to continue this for current and future students and families. I've been involved in each school at different levels, and I believe that is what has truly led me to running. I enjoy being a part of the schools and being involved. I believe that my background in education and time spent in our district will help me to become a great board member. In closing, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight and encourage everyone to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 7th. I will work to do the best for our students, teachers, and families, and be an active listener, and encourage anyone to contact me with further questions. And I will work hard to celebrate our district's successes and to find solutions for our challenges.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cronister. Mr. Feenan.
I'm going to take you on a quick little trip down the road. I'm a Southeast Kansas boy, born and bred. Not Pittsburgh native, but I grew up in Independence, Kansas, just about an hour west of here. Graduated from USD 446, successfully, luckily. I would tell everybody in here I had a good education. I had the opportunities afforded to me that I feel a school should give me. We had programs, we had good teachers, and I learned. I'm here today, I'm the man today because of the people that affected my lives there. I look fondly back on that, even as a cranky 41-year-old, Ghostbuster, whatever you want to call me today. I look back fondly on my hometown because of the experience they gave me as a student, even though the town itself is far from perfect. And then I moved here. And the school system that Pittsburgh has put together with USD 250 is unmatched anywhere near us. And I look at the foundation we have laid, the teachers we have in front of us, the buildings that we've been updating, and the students that are coming out of those buildings, and I see the foundation we've laid and an opportunity to grab that thing by the handles and just keep lifting. Because I mentioned way early on that the challenges we face are not unique challenges. They are the challenges everybody is hitting. So let's try something. Let's get together and spend the next 4 years doing everything we can to make sure that anytime any other district in this state has a problem, the first place they look to for a solution, for a strategy, for a technique, let's make it be Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh deserves no less. We have worked hard to get where we are. The teachers have fought hard for these students, and they deserve that kind of recognition. And I want to help be a part of that for the next several years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Feenan. And Ms. Stoneberger Johnson.
Well, thank you. It's really clear to me that Pittsburgh Dragons have a lot to be proud of. Like, we have outstanding, amazing teachers and staff. We have high-quality programs the other districts can only dream of offering to their students. And we have smart, talented, diverse student body with nearly limitless potential. Undoubtedly, in the next 4+ years, we're also going to face some challenges, some that we can see coming and some we don't see coming. Our students and our staff deserve school board members who are knowledgeable about the field of education, who are thoughtful and open to input from parents, teachers, students, and community members, as well as board members who are willing to do the homework and ask difficult questions during meetings. Board members who will speak up for all students, including those whose parents don't show up to PTO or to school board meetings. We need school board members who can work with people from all different backgrounds and different perspectives respectfully. Each member of the board is just one person, and you have to be able to communicate effectively and build relationships with others, even those who see things differently from you. That's how we solve problems constructively. Our schools are for everyone, and we must incorporate everyone from all different backgrounds. Just looking out in the audience, it's clear to me that our community isn't all team red and isn't all team blue, but we all team purple. And we gotta be united and respect one another. And those are the values that I will bring if I'm elected. So on November 4th, you can vote for 4 of us. And I hope one of those people is me. On November 7th, you can vote for 4 of us. Thank you.
This early voting.
Please join me in thanking our candidates. Thank you again for your time tonight. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you to the City of Pittsburgh for hosting us, and thank you, of course, to the Morning Sun for co-sponsoring. With that, we are adjourned. Have a great evening.
What's the score?